All right, everybody, welcome back to OffBeat Sports Podcast, presented by Great Product there. Today we got me and Aiden on the show. We're gonna be talking some rapid fire mailbox Patriots questions that we got from some of you and some we came up with ourselves. We'll get right into that. Be quick answers. We'll get quick answers in, brief explanations with our reasoning, and we'll get on. All right. All right. So first one, what position should the Patriots target with their first round pick?
So for me personally, I think they have to target a cornerback. They've let way too much cornerback talent walk away from the team in the last year. You can't lose two all-pro corners like Moore and J.C. Jackson and expect to do well in the division with now having receivers like Stephon Diggs with Buffalo and Tyreek Hill in Miami. You need a lockdown corner. And I would even look at moving up in the draft if it means that you could land a corner like Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati. I think he'd be a great target if he's still there at 21.
All right, I'm going a different route. I agree. I think they should trade, into the first round with some of their later picks and try and get another first round pick so they can target a cornerback with one of them. But I think their main priority should be a fast linebacker. Some guy you can kind of plug in and out like a Micah Parsons. Obviously, he's a generational talent, but somebody quick in the middle of your defense, I think would really help them. Because I think you're like a cornerback in the first round will help you. I don't think they're going to be a star cornerback right off the bat, so it not even help this year. I think a starting linebacker can help you right away. So that's where I think they should go with that. But all right, so number 2, Patriots recently acquired Devante Parker from the Dolphins, along with a 5th round pick in exchange for a 3rd round pick. Would you say this is a win or a loss for the Pats, this trade?
I say this has to be a win for the New England. I mean, you're giving up 2 later, not giving up any prime picks. And I know Devante Parker's had some injury problems in the last few years, but he's a really good number 2 receiver on a championship team. I don't think that they should stop with him, however. They still need that one X factor from Mac, but definitely a solid pickup for the Pats. I really like the move.
Yep, I'm a big fan of Devante Parker. I have been for the last few years since he's burned the Pats for a lot. I think it's a win. I think if he can stay on the field, this will be a really good trade, especially since they basically just gave up the third round pick that they'd be getting back from losing J.C. Jackson. So like kind of way to turn nothing into something there. And you're also getting a 5th round pick. Patriots have had some success in drafting in some of those later rounds, so not terrible. I think this is a pretty good pickup. I think he can be, if he can stay healthy, he can be a star receiver for Mac Jones. It's along with like the other receivers in that room. You get some talent in there, and I think Bourne's going to really step up. Myers has always been pretty good. I think Aguilar, still we haven't seen the best of Aguilar. I also think with getting rid of the fullback position, you're going to see a lot out of Jonnu Smith this year as well. So I think that offense is looking solid. I don't want to say they're dangerous, but they're solid. It all depends on how Mac Jones plays. That's really where.
Really, yeah.
If he can take that next step.
With all the weapons around him, it's just about utilizing them,
Everyone's saying they should still draft a receiver. I mean, I wouldn't take one too high. Like, I wouldn't take it with our first round pick. I think we need to address other situations, but I think this basically relieves them of the pressure to take a receiver first round. Yeah. Can the Patriots be a playoff team this season?
I think they can. And they showed last year with the rookie quarterback that they can be a playoff team. And so I think that doesn't change this season either, even though there are teams in the AFC like Miami and like pretty much every team in the AFC West that has gotten better. I still think that if Mac can show the progression and show why he was a Pro Bowler last year and kind of build off that successful first season, and I think it really will come down to the defense. Like if the defense can hold together losing J.C. Jackson, losing other key pieces. Some of the guys are getting older, like McCourty and Hightower. So if the defense can hold together and Matt can take that next step using guys like Devante Parker and trying to get Jonnu Smith more involved in the offense, I definitely think that they can be a playoff team.
Especially, I mean, you got to look at that AFC. Not all 4 teams aren't going to be able to make the playoffs. It would even be difficult for all 3 teams to make the playoffs. Therefore, I mean, yes, we are in a similar boat with the AFC East in that there being a lot of talent in there. But I mean, Tua is still the quarterback in Miami. I think if we can beat out the Dolphins, I think we are in a good spot. Because if you look at our schedule, we got the Ravens beatable. It's gonna be tough, but it all depends on the draft, obviously, for us, how our team's gonna look. But you had the Bills twice, which would be tough. The Dolphins twice, which if we can split with them or even win both, that'd be sweet. It's still gonna be a tough game. We always struggle against Miami. We played Chicago. Chicago is not gonna be a really tough game for us, I don't think. The Bengals, that'll be a tough game. But we'll see if they are able to improve this year. We have the Lions, that should be a win. We have the Colts, who, again, tough game, but we've had the Colts number the last few years. We have we have the Jets twice. That's easy. We have the Vikings. I think we should be able to beat the Vikings. We have Steelers. We should be able to beat the Steelers. That Raiders team's going to be good. I don't know. I think we could give them a game. I mean, they added a receiver. And they added Chandler Jones. But so that's going to be a tougher game. Browns we should beat. Cardinals I think we could beat. Green Bay will be a tough game, but if they don't figure out receivers for Aaron Rodgers, I think we could beat them. And like I think there are some games that if we win some key games, we could end up sneaking into one of those wild card spots just because all those super teams are in the same division. It all depends. I think it all rides on if we can beat Miami head to head. I think that's where it all lies. But I think they could. But if I had to guess, if you pressed me for an answer, I'd say no. I'd say they probably wouldn't be a playoff team this year because I just think and everyone before we go on to the next one. It was supposed to be rapid fire, but people are complaining about the Patriots not making a ton of big moves this offseason. They didn't have a lot of cap. Next year, they were supposed to have over 100 million cap. That's huge. I mean, next year will be a spending spree like last year. I think people got greedy after last year's offseason. But next one, over under 9.5 wins for the Patriots.
Ooh, this one's tough because I think they're right at that 9.5 mark as currently stands. But I'll be optimistic and say that they get to 10. As you read, beat Miami twice, you beat the Jets twice. There's 4 right there. It's almost already halfway. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not really that sold on the Raiders as currently stands. I mean, I like Devontae Adams a lot in their offense, but Derek Carr I don't trust to get stuff done when it matters. You know, he hasn't really shown playoff success. He hasn't been able to show that he can lead his team to a successful season. So I'm not going to count the Raiders as a potential threat until they show that they can do something. And similar with Cincinnati, Cincinnati's a great team, but they're just so inexperienced. And I even said it before the playoffs last year. I would have liked to see the Patriots play that Cincinnati team in the playoffs rather than the Bills. I think that Belichick against a young quarterback like Burrow could have given him some trouble. And I mean, we even saw the Raiders almost beat the Bengals in that wild card game. Their Cinderella run never would have happened. So I think that they could hit 10 if they win the games they're supposed to and maybe squeak out a couple ones that they're underdogs.
Mm-hmm. I think if they win the games they're supposed to and they split with Miami, and they are able to pull out a win against, let's say, Arizona or Green Bay or both, I think they'll go over. I think they're sitting comfortably around 9 wins. But if they can steal one of those more difficult games, one of those, and they win the games they're supposed to, I think they'll get 10 or 11. So it all comes down to, honestly, I think it all comes down to this draft. I think this is a more important draft than in a lot of recent years. I mean, last year was pretty important, adding Mac Jones and Christian Barmore, but I think this draft kind of forms the next era of the Patriots, I think, with like some of your next key players.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. Um, so yeah, I think they very well could be an over team, but I think right now, just winning games they're supposed to, they sit around 9. Um, Next one was letting JC Jackson walk a mistake and not either tagging him or paying him the money that he wanted.
I think it definitely was a mistake. Like, I know that he's not, I wouldn't say that he's worth the contract the Chargers gave him, but when you're the Patriots and you're already so thin at the cornerback position, so much so that, what is Jalen Mills the CB1 now?
Yeah, him or Butler.
Yeah, you can't allow someone like that to walk. Almost led the league, or did the league in interception. No, that was
Diggs, but yeah,
second in the league in interceptions, a lockdown corner, and he did get torched in that playoff game by Stephon Diggs, but I kind of view that as more of an outlier game than the norm for J.C. Jackson. So I think you can't let someone that good walk out your door, and you're when in a position where you don't have someone right there ready to step in. That's why I think it's so imperative that they draft a corner in this draft, because they have nobody at that position that can stop all the receiver threats that they're going to have to play this season. Like, do we really trust Jalen Mills to lock down Devontae Adams or to even be able to contain him at least a little bit? Like, it's very
I think their secondary was struggle. They added a lot of they have a lot of safeties in their safeties room. So I think they're planning on playing a lot of like over the top like help, which will be interesting. We'll see how that goes. But I think they should have tagged him. I don't think they should have paid him that much. At least keep him for a year and then try and use some of that cap space for next year, to sign him to that extension. I think a tag would have been the best move. I'm not like super like happy we let him walk, but like I'm not like pissed either. I think it's kind of like, well, it was a hit or miss. It was like, do we do it or do we not? Like you can't like, you can get mad at it, or you could just be like, well, you got a lot of money. We didn't have a lot of money. You can kind of chalk it up to that. So I would say it was a minor mistake. It again depends on the draft. If they draft a great cornerback to replace him, no harm, no foul. But we'll see. Next one is having no defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, a good thing or a bad thing right now. Like they're more coaching by committee right now. How do you feel about that?
I don't have a problem with the Patriots not having an OC or DC, because I think we all know that Bill Belichick runs the show in Foxborough. So not having a assigned offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator doesn't really bother me at all, because I mean Belichick's going to be making the head decisions for both of sides of the ball at all times. So I trust Belichick's judgment on coaching football. So yeah, it doesn't really mean much to me that they haven't made one. I don't know what you think that Cross.
I don't think it's a great thing. I think last year he was so involved with the defense, he was able to rely on McDaniels to run the offense, and not really have to worry about that, where he could like kind of help out the defense. And I think the defensive coordinators last year, coordinators last year got a lot of hate for like the end of the season, how they kind of like flopped. But like for most of the season, the defense looked awesome and everyone was super excited about it. But and then as soon as they didn't look great, they jumped on them. I mean, they look good for most of the season. You can't like,
yeah.
I mean, was it disappointing? Yeah, but like they had a better season than many defenses in the NFL. So like you can't you can't like hate on them too much. But I'm hoping people or coaches step up on both sides of the ball, because Bill's not going to be able to do it all himself. As great of a coach he is, trying to do it all himself is gonna be a struggle. It's gonna be too much. So I don't think it's a great thing. I think he should have brought in somebody that he super can like rely on, and that may be the whole Judge and Patricia thing, but they should have been on the defensive side of the ball. Patricia should have been on the defensive side of the ball. Judge should go back to special teams because our special teams sucked last year. He should have went back to special teams, and he should have found some other guys for the offense, somebody he trusted. But and that kind of leads me into my next one. Before I last is it a good thing Joe Judge is working with Mac Jones?
I don't think so. I mean, Joe Judge, he had his chances with Daniel Jones. It just didn't work out. I feel like that they really should have looked at the coach at the quarterback coach that has had past track success, like a track record of working with young QBs and producing results, even if it means picking an older coach.
Yeah.
Like Joe Judge, he just isn't it for me. I don't know that he's going to get the most out of Mac Jones that another guy would.
It scares me. I don't think Joe Judge should be working with Mac Jones. I don't think if he's helping, that's fine. I don't think he should be like in charge of Mac Jones's development. That scares me. So we'll see how that goes. Last one is Belichick on the hot seat if they don't perform perform as they should this year.
I don't think Belichick will be on the hot seat. I just think that after all he's done with 6 Super Bowls for the team, Kraft's never going to fire him. Now, if they don't have a successful season, I could see Belichick stepping down or retiring, but I don't think Kraft would ever have the guts to like fire the greatest coach of all time. Like, I just don't think that will happen.
Mm-hmm. I think this year, I don't think they'd ever fire him or let him go after this year. I think if they go less than 9 wins, or say they go seven or wins, 6 or 7 wins, I think they're gonna tell him you're in the hot seat, buddy. If you don't fix this for the next season, we're gonna have another conversation because I think they want to win now. It was pretty evident in Kraft's interviews. He wants to win again. I think they're not going to judge him too strongly after this year. I think they're basically going to kind of evaluate if they underperform this year. They're going to be like, all right, that's 1 year. You do it again, you're out. Especially with the cap space they have next year, they're gonna tell them do something with this, figure it out. You have the cap space now. You don't have that excuse. Figure it out. Win us some games. Win us a playoff game, or you're done. So I wouldn't say he's on the hot seat. I would say he's in a above room temperature seat. He's in a lukewarm seat. All right. So that's where I'm at with Bill. Hard to fire the greatest coach of all time, but if you're not getting results, you got to do what you got to do. So that's all I got. So there's some of our answers on some of these Patriots off-season events. We will probably go into a more in-depth draft episode soon, so be on the lookout for that. Thank you everyone for listening. This episode was brought to you by Celsius. Go check them out. Follow us on Instagram at offbeat_sports. Subscribe to our YouTube, Offbeat Sports. And we will see you next time. Thanks for listening or watching.